and welcome into the Hogs Happy Hour here on the 4-Star Sports Media Network. Okay, I'm Ron Soul tonight. I'm your host, Blake. And as I will usually be joined by Jason and Ashton, but as you can tell, it's like 9:30 and they're probably asleep by now. But we are brought to you by SeatGeek, Athletic Brewing Company, Fanatics, and Southwest Airlines. If you're ready for the big game and ready to score a touchdown with your ticket purchase, use promo code 4-Star Sports Media on SeatGeek to get $20 off your first order. Do not miss out on the action. Grab your tickets today and save. And we are also, like I said, brought to you by Athletic Brewing Company. Since its humble beginnings in 2017, Athletic Brewing Company has transformed into a niche idea that is now a leader in the non-alcoholic beer space. They now hold a fifth of the market, a remarkable feat for a brand that started as an underdog. So it has been a while since we have been on the air. You know, it's been probably since Pittman was let go. And if you haven't heard the news past, since Sunday morning around 10 o'clock, Ryan Silverfield is the new head hog on the heel. Now, here at 4-Star Sports Media, we are very used to Coach Silverfield as he was the head coach of the Memphis Tigers. As you know, Wes Pruitt, Jonathan Sturdivant on the Memphis side of the 4-Star Sports Media brand, they cover Memphis Tigers. So we here at 4-Star are very used to Ron Silverfield. We love Ron Silverfield. So for him to get hired as the head hog was very much a surprise. Going back to was it the Wednesday? Yeah, the Wednesday before Thanksgiving. The rumors was Golish from South Florida, who's now at Auburn, was going to be the head hog, and I don't think he liked that rumor or that deal got put out there because he wanted to tell his team himself. So. And then it comes out that Auburn, we think, has offered him more money. So maybe that's why he decided to go to Auburn. But if you looked at all the list, Silverfield's name was always mentioned. It was kind of the last name mentioned on the Arkansas Razorback coaching search. So, it's kind of weird to see him in red instead of blue here on 4-Star Sports. But we, as Razorback fans, I Sunday around 10:30, whenever it kind of leaked, on 3, I think had it first, and then everyone else kind of took charge of it. I was very surprised. I don't think Hog fans gave him a chance. They scheduled that protest at noon in Fayetteville. I mean, only like 25 fans showed up, so it wasn't much of a protest. Just some Twitter idiots out there who were very butthurt that maybe Golish did not come to the heel as they thought. But as Hog fans, we need to give Silverfield a chance. So who is Ron Silverfield? So let's go through his lengthy coaching career. Okay, it started in 1999 in Jacksonville, Florida, as a high school assistant. Then in 2000, he went to Hampton-Sydney as assistants. He kind of had a little injury that kind of ended his playing career early. Then 2004, he went to Memorial Day High School. And then in 2005, went to little college in Jacksonville. Then 2006, 2007 was a GA at UCF. Then he transitioned into the NFL 2008 through 2013 through various assistant jobs with the Minnesota Vikings. He was on the defensive line and also on the offensive line. In 2014, he went to Toledo as an offensive consultant. Then 2015, he was at Arizona State and then went back to the NFL, also in 2015 to the Detroit Lions as an assistant offensive line coach. And then he kind of planted his roots in 2016 in Memphis as the O-line coach. And then he got kind of a promotion to the run game coordinator in 2017, 2018. And then another somewhat promotion in 2019 as the assistant head coach, run game coordinator, offensive line coach for Norvell. And then when Norvell went to Florida State, He was promoted then to head coach in 2020 until this past, I guess, Sunday morning when he signed the contract. He is now the head coach, the 35th head coach for your Arkansas Razorbacks. He has a head coaching record of 50-25. Again, all of that at Memphis, and he has a 4-1 bowl record. Again, all of that at Memphis. Memphis fans were also celebrating on Twitter, depending on which side of Twitter you are on. I know I saw a bunch of tweets about people celebrating that Ryan Silverfield was gone. Memphis fans were upset that he did not bring them a conference championship appearance. That was the main downfall with him. He won 10 games the past 2 years. This year they won 8. So Memphis fans were upset that, with the NIL situation at Memphis, it's one of the top in the G5s, especially in the American Conference. So Memphis fans were upset with that. But so my thoughts, Sunday we had a show here on 4-Star Sports, the Conference Crunch, kind of when all the news broke. We kind of had a waiting period to make sure no more news was going to break because we had Summerall, Golish, and Silverfield all break within like 10 minutes. So we, at first I'll admit it, I was upset because he's not your fancy coach. He's not your rah like has a bunch of sayings, and he is 5-0 against Golish and Summerall. So he has experience against some SEC coaches. They seems like the American Athletic Conference is the, I guess, feeder to the SEC for head coaches. But Sunday night, I sat on it. I was feeling a little bit better. And then come Monday morning, when he started flipping these recruits, these in-state Arkansas recruits, he started flipping me as well because that shows that he understands Arkansas football. He was just across the river. If you're ever in Memphis, the Bass Pro Pyramid, the river's right there, and Arkansas, West Memphis is all right there. So he understands Arkansas. He's recruited Arkansas. He understands why Razorback football and Razorback sports in general are important to the people of Arkansas. There is no pro team. We got Arkansas State, but no one really roots for them. It's all about the Hogs here in Arkansas. So he gets it. So he went out and tried to get all those in-state guys that were committed to Oklahoma, to Miami. He wants them to stay home. Houston Nutt used to say to be successful at Arkansas, you need to kind of put a fence up around the state. So I think that's what he's trying to do. You don't have to get every recruit from Arkansas. Your recruiting class does not need to be filled with 20 Arkansas players, okay? Let's be honest. You're not going to be successful that way. But what you need to do is those, we don't have very many 4-star players that come through Arkansas. But the ones that we do have, you have to keep them in state. And every now and then we'll have a 5-star. Those guys have to stay in state. They have to play for the Hogs. And Silverfield gets that. So within these 3 days, he compiled a decent recruiting class. It bumped, if you're on 24/7 Sports, it did bump our ranking up, I think about 20 spots there. So he did the best he could. He's a hard worker. He's the type that is going to stay up in the office and fix everything that needs to be fixed, including the light bulbs, apparently, is what we found out today. But so Silverfield has hit the ground running for the Arkansas Razorbacks. And then last night, I think he even won a lot more fans over because of his passion. I'm sure everyone has seen that video of him at the basketball game, about an hour and a half before tip with the student section, because he was pushing kids around, very hyped up. My in-laws, they have season tickets to the Memphis Tigers, and I've never seen Silverfield that pumped up. I thought he was kind of mild mannered, just clap his hands type of guy, but he is fired up. I'm sure that pay raise doesn't hurt either, but he was very fired up. And then at halftime, they introduced him. Thankfully, Hunter Yurchek did not walk out with him, because I feel like if Hunter Yurchek would have walked out with him, then some boos may have rung down from the rafters. But I'm glad that Silverfield walked out. Everyone was cheering for him. And then today at the press conference, he had the thing I liked is he didn't use the word wins. He said championships. Okay, he didn't say, "Oh, we're gonna go win some games." He said, "We're gonna go win some championships." Okay, and he understands college football. That's why I'm starting to like this hire a little bit more. Is that he's an experienced coach, D1 coach. He's not a coordinator. Okay, he understands he has to be kind of that CEO type, but like he said in his interviews, he will get out there and coach and show DB how to backpedal, and obviously he's very experienced with the offensive line, so he will get out there and coach. But he understands college football right now, and we know college football right now is a hot mess. But at the press conference today, Hunter Yurchek kind of said, we got a lot more backing from our donors, from our boosters, from just people around the state in for this football program. And I don't think Silverfield would have taken this job if he didn't know he would have that backing. Now, it's not just for NIL money; it's your assistant pool money, it's your facilities, okay. Then obviously your NIL money. Now, according to Hunter Yurchek, but take this with a grain of salt. We're now in the top half of NIL in the SEC, but as we know, there's a lot of money that's not reported in the SEC. So just take that as you will. But Silverfield said we will be surprised at uh, the assistance that he will be able to pull to Arkansas. As we have reported, he is bringing his offensive coordinator Cramsey to Fayetteville. That was reported by Wes Pruitt of 4-Star Sports. And Trey Biddy at 24/7 Sports, he's picked up on it as well. So, I mean, Memphis fans are elated too that Cramsey is leaving. Now, I'm just looking at stats and top 25 in offense. And I understand he had Seth Hennigan for 4 years, and Seth Hennigan is a great quarterback. So Memphis fans thinks that those numbers were elevated because of a great quarterback, but I think the numbers speak for themselves. So I'm excited to see what he can do. And then also today, we had two big time athletes decide to stay at Arkansas with KJ Jackson and Quincy Rhodes. So I'm assuming KJ probably got a little NIL money. It was reported Taylor Green got up to $1.5 million. So I don't know if KJ's got that much money, but I'm sure they offered him something to stay. If you saw him in the Mizzou game, he played decent. They kept switching in and out, him and Green, but he did play pretty decent out there. And the big one, obviously he's a defensive lineman, is Quincy Rhodes. If you go back and look, Quincy Rhodes or Silverfield offered Quincy Rhodes first. Quincy said today that Memphis was his first offer. So him and Silverfield have a long-standing relationship. So, and I'm sure he got offered a bag, because if you look at some mock drafts, Quincy Rhodes was projected as a first-round draft pick. So, and we know how much money those first-round draft picks make. So I'm sure Quincy Rhodes was offered quite a bit of money to stay. So, and then the press conference today was more of to me, just Yurchek getting up there and saying, "Hey, I got money now," because which a lot of questions from the reporters, that's all it kind of was about, was how is your NIL situation? And as one of our co-hosts Ashton said, he just said no one wanted to donate or give their money to All Shucks Sam. Okay, Sam Pittman. I mean, God bless him. I mean, he's a great guy, great offensive line coach. But looking back at it, he was not ready for this job. And if you read some reports, when he changed agents to Sexton, he kind of changed his ways and became more of an a-hole, and just didn't really care anymore. Was just there for the money. But again, all that's just rumors, so you can take that as you will. He, but yeah, I mean, and he said at the basketball game, he said he talked to a donor for 5 minutes, and that donor went over to Hunter Yurchek and said, "Hey, here's 7 figures." If you don't know how much 7 figures is, it's at least $1 million. So within that 5 minutes, Silverfield had $1 million donated to his football program. Now, Silverfield's going to work his butt off. He's going to get this program right. Now, in Arkansas eyes, Arkansas fans are going to be happy with 8 wins a year. We just are. We understand. Will we ever compete for national championships? I don't know. We might, but you can't tell me Hog fans won't be happy with 8, 9, or 10 wins a year. And we know in the SEC now, if you get 10 wins, it's a chance at the playoffs. You can ask Vandy this year. It's not really, they don't have a fair chance at it, but 10 wins get you in the conversation. Now, will Hog fans be happy with 7 wins, 6 wins? I don't. That's our average. Average to pass 15, 20 years is 6-6. So I mean, if you get 8 wins, you're better. You're better than what you have been. So I think in the schedule next year's brutal. We got 9 going to the 9 ACC game schedule. So I mean, he does have a tough road, tough first season, and we will actually find out that schedule next Thursday, as the SEC announced that they will release those schedules, the times and stuff. We know the opponents, we just don't know the order. So I think Silverfield is starting to win people over. If you watch Inside Arkansas or Trey Biddy's Walk and Talk, it's like, it's like they didn't know who Silverfield was at first, and these past couple of days we've got to know him well, especially if you got Hog Plus. There's a lot of content on Hog Plus if you need to go check it out for Ryan Silverfield. But I'm glad he's here. I was not expecting him to be the head coach. Hunter said he was the first and last coach he talked to. That doesn't mean he was the only coach he talked to. It's just that he said in October, first coach in October he talked to was Silverfield, and then he said the last one he talked to was also Silverfield. Now, you can go back on Memphis' schedule and look at games in October, and they lost a head scratcher to UAB. You might just wonder, did Hunter and Ryan have a conversation, in between, right before that UAB game that kind of got Silverfield a little distracted? I don't know. Something to think about. But I'm excited he's here. I know our group chat. At first it was what the heck, what's going on, and then Monday comes around and he does something Pittman couldn't do, and that is get these in-state kids to commit to the Hogs. And was that NIL money? Maybe. I mean, but that's what you got to do nowadays, is offer these 18-year-old, $400,000, $500,000 to come play for your university. But we'll see. I mean, he'll start announcing the rest of his staff. He's bringing the strength coach down from Memphis. He's bringing the OC Cramsey down from Memphis. So we'll see. He's going to have to get a big time defensive coordinator. I don't think his DC from Memphis will be following him, because he wants a DC with SEC experience. There's a former SEC head coach out there with SEC experience and Stoops. So maybe maybe we can get him. I don't know. We'll see. It should be pretty soon. His coaching staff should be announced. Some of his coaching staff may be coaching in games this weekend. So I'm sure they're just waiting on that right now. But those of you that are watching live, we appreciate you. Again, if you need to chime in the comment section, please do. We will. Again, I'm riding solo tonight, so it's kind of weird just talking to myself. So if you feel the need to comment, we will mention you on air. Again, we are brought to you by SeatGeek, Athletic Brewing Company, Fanatics, and Southwest Airlines. So but now the thing I don't like is you look at all these lists, like they're grading the hires, and of course Lane Kiffin's an A. Maybe Golish is a B. Some are all C. Some of them have Silverfield a D or F, and the reasoning behind that is they're like, well, Memphis sucks. That's just lazy journalism. That means no one's doing their actual research. Okay, if you look at Silverfield's record, and some people are going to say he inherited Norvell. Norvell had that program and he just took it over. It's not Silverfield. Well, he's been there 5 years. Been there since 2020. So if it was just Norvell, it would have. To me, it would have just crumbled. But it didn't. It's improved. He had back-to-back 10-win seasons, 4-1 in bowl games. He beat Arkansas, for Christ's sakes. So, I mean, I think it's a pretty good hire. We'll see. I mean, he's saying all the right stuff right now. It's all the rah-rah hype type stuff, but we'll see. I just hope the AD and the powers that be don't get in his way and they support him with everything he needs. Okay, that's from NIL to like he said today, new light bulbs. He said he was going to go to Walmart and get some new light bulbs for the facility. And hopefully, I don't know if you saw the story of the tent, the injury tent. We need a light for that thing too. So I don't if you can find that story on TikTok though. But again, Silverfield is the new head hog. We'll see. We'll see what happens here in the future with him. But from now until I guess September, he cannot lose a football game. So hopefully the transfer portal he can bring some guys in. He's obviously going to bring some guys in from Memphis. Maybe a quarterback, maybe a running back with the last name Smith. That would be awesome if he could bring him in. But we'll see. All right, moving on. Another great Razorback event this week was the Hogs beat Louisville 89-80. They were up. They were up at one point by 20 some odd points, and it was good. It was good for them to win a marquee game. Trevor Brazile had 17 in the first half, and then he got dunked on and supposedly had an injury and came back the second half. Only had about 4 points, but our freshman down the stretch kind of helped us, and our big men finally got some rebounds. That's what Cal was more happy about more than the win, was how our big men finally decided to rebound the basketball. Pat Kelsey, he's a little hothead out there, and he's a little elf out there. But Trevor Brazile, like I said, finished with 21 points. There we go. Had to pull up the box score here. It was being a little slow. That Southeast Arkansas internet down here. All right, Nick Pringle, he played 22 minutes, just had two points, 4 rebounds. Brazile played 32 minutes with 21 points, 8 for 11 on field goals, 3 out of 4 on 3 points, and 5 rebounds. Darius Acuff played 36 minutes, 17 points, 6 of 18 on his field goals with 5 rebounds and 10 assists. Carter Knox played 21 minutes, 5 points, 2 of 9 field goals with 5 rebounds. And then DJ Wagner, who's struggling right now, but he's going to find his way. He's in a new position, so we'll see what he can. Hopefully, he can figure it out. He played 19 minutes, 5 points, and 1 rebound. Then Malik Ewing, 18 minutes, 12 points, 3 or 4 on his field goals, 9 rebounds. Billy Richmond, 27 minutes, 10 points, 4 rebounds, and almost had Cal having a stroke on the sideline with that. He was fouling the three-pointer with about a minute left. And then Malik Thomas, 25 minutes, 17 points, 4 of 10 on his field goals with 5 rebounds. As a team, they shot 42% from the floor and 33% from 3. And they shot 35 free throws and making 27 of them for 77%. So it was good for them to get a win. That Duke game, it was competitive. But Boozer, man, he is something out there. Especially when you can hook and hold and hook and foul and do everything that he was able to do. But I'm not blaming the refs there. I mean, Cal pointed it out to them, and they assumed it was not a foul. So you just have to play on. Okay, if they don't call it, it's not a foul, and that's how Cal is. You just have to. Each ref officiates a little bit differently, so you just have to roll on. So. Just a little nugget here, this Louisville team, they did beat Kentucky earlier in the season. So, hopefully Mark Pope's $25 million NIL team gets it together at some point. All right, moving on to the last part here before it's time to shut it down. All right, we have an opportunity to have all types of madness. And if you are a sports investor / gambler, I will put a lot of money on Virginia this week because the powers that be are not going to let Duke win the ACC championship. Because if they do, you have an opportunity for 2 G5 teams to be in the college football playoff. And we know that the SEC teams, the Big Ten, they probably don't want that to happen. So, I think, I don't think Duke's going to win, but they're in the game. They have a chance, and it could cause all kinds of madness this weekend. Especially, you got Georgia, Bama. Who's going to win that game? I don't know. You got 1 and 2 with Ohio State, Indiana. So does the loser drop to 3 or 4, or do they just swap 1 and 2? I don't. It's going to be fun. And you got you got your game starting tomorrow night. So it's going to be a good weekend of football. The last full weekend of football until next season. I know you got your playoffs and bowl games will be announced this weekend as well. After the CFP decides what they're going to do. That's why Hunter Yurchek, he had to wait till Thursday to have Silverfield's press conference because he's kind of busy right now, trying to explain why the SEC deserves all these spots in the playoffs. So, but other than that, that's it. That's it for the happy hour. I'm glad to be back. It's been life has been crazy past couple weeks, couple months. My 3 and 4 or 5 jobs I got. So I was glad to find some time to come out and talk to y'all. But if you haven't already, follow us at 4-Star Sports Media on Facebook, on Twitter, on YouTube. 4-Star Sports M. If you cannot find us, okay, follow us on X at the Hogs Happy Hour, where we will be talking all things Arkansas Razorbacks. Should be having some news this weekend. Maybe tomorrow will come out about some coaches that Silverfield has decided to hire. So keep an eye on our social media pages for all the news. With all that, I appreciate everyone out there watching, and we will see y'all next time.